I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
What is up, everybody? It's Justin Gaming here. So as most of you know, PlayStation Experience was this weekend, and of course the biggest announcement was easily The Last of Us Part 2. So at the PlayStation conference, they showed off The Last of Us 2 at the very end with a short teaser trailer that was about 4 minutes in length, and they followed it up with The Last of Us Part 2 panel where Neil Druckmann, Ashley Johnson, and Troy Baker were there and were asked lots of questions regarding the game. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to be covering about today. We've got tons of new information regarding The Last of Us Part 2. So yeah, without further ado, I would say let's just get straight into the new information that we got. So yeah, to start off, it's called The Last of Us Part 2 instead of just The Last of Us 2. They decided to do The Last of Us Part 2, and this is actually taking place 5 years after the original Last of Us. So of course we know that in the original Last of Us, Ellie was 14 years old, so she's actually 19 years old now. And the cool thing is that in the first Last of Us, we knew that, of course, we were playing as Joel, because it would be kind of hard to play as Ellie, seeing as she's only 14, that her as a character hasn't really developed yet, and it would have made the gameplay much harder. As we did see in the short winter section of The Last of Us, we saw that gameplay was quite different with Ellie than it was from Joel. So yeah, now in The Last of Us Part 2, we're going to be playing as a 19-year-old Ellie, and of course the gameplay style is going to be quite different because Ellie is not physically as strong as Joel. So yeah, we're going to have a different kind of gameplay style from Joel for Ellie. And yeah, Neil Druckmann said this is going to be a much different approach from the first game. So so what he says is, from the first game we knew that the Last of Us was of course a game about bonding and growing a relationship between Joel and Ellie, and we saw this through the story, the gameplay, and the mechanics and everything like that. And basically from start to end, we saw how much they grew together as characters, and basically how they bonded so well together. And that was obviously shown through the story and gameplay, of course. But yeah, Neil Druckmann said the second game is going to be taking a much different approach, and whereas the first game was about that bonding relationship, the second game is going to be about hatred, which is really interesting because obviously it's such a big shift from the first game. So yeah, let's get into what the actual trailer was. You've probably seen it by now because the trailer is literally everywhere and everyone's talking about it. So of course in the trailer we see that it started off with the forests, and then we weren't really sure what it was, but then we see those abandoned cars and you immediately think of, oh my god, is this The Last of Us 2? And then you see a stop sign with a firefly symbol painted on, and I was just like, I lost my mind. I was like, oh my god, it's The Last of Us 2. And then we see a woman shaking her hand like this. Well, at the time we weren't really sure if it was a woman or not, but we saw someone shaking their hand like this, and their hands seemed to be all beat up because they seem to be in a massive fight. And then they start playing the guitar, and then we later see that it's Ellie because she starts singing, and we can hear her voice, of course, and we recognize that it's her. And it was really cool to see her now that she's grown up and everything, that she's a 19-year-old. So yeah, it was really cool to see her, and then we just see her singing, and then we see Joel walk in through the house. And while he walks in, we see all these like dead enemies lying on the floor. And of course, we know that it was Ellie that killed those people. So it obviously seems like Ellie isn't really emotionally and physically that great right now, because we saw in the trailer, of course, Ellie was all beat up. She had like scars all over. She had like massive gashes all over her head and her arms and stuff like that. And we saw like another bite on her arm, on her neck. Sorry, but yeah, she really didn't look that great in at least a physical way, and also emotionally, because she seemed to be going a bit crazy. Because at the end she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna find them and kill them all." She says something like that. Obviously, we don't know who she's talking about, but she says she's gonna find and kill every last one of them. So yeah, we don't really know who she's talking to, but it is quite interesting. Now, A lot of people are skeptical about The Last of Us 2 because they really enjoyed the ending of the original Last of Us, because it did leave a sort of mystery where it was open to imagination, where it let the players basically allow them to imagine what the ending was going to be for themselves. And yeah, now that there is a Last of Us 2, some people are skeptical about it, but Neil Druckmann, the director of The Last of Us 1 and The Last of Us Part 2, he did address the issue and said, quote, "All I ask is that fans of the first one put faith in us and trust us. We're gonna do right by you," quote. So, yeah, I mean, in the end, even though some people are skeptical, I do believe in Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog, of course, because all their games have been such high quality games. You know, you just have to believe in them that they would make another great, amazing game, of course. So, yeah, let's move on to the next one. Music. So the soundtrack will be composed by Gustavo Santaolalla, which is the same guy that did the soundtrack in the original Last of Us, and he did a really good job giving us that amazing vibe and soundtrack that made us really feel like we were in the setting, along with in the journey with Joel and Ellie. So yeah, it's cool that he's back. It doesn't really come as a surprise to me, because he did such a great job on the original Last of Us, so he's back for the second one. Now, one of the big things that we learned is that Bruce Straley, who was the game director on the original Last of Us, he won't be coming back for a sequel. I think he's taking 1 year off, or like a few years off from game development and stuff like that. So nonetheless, it is just one person that's not coming back, even though he is an important person in the project. Yeah, the project's still in very good hands with Neil Druckmann and the rest of Naughty Dog. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is this theory that's been going on all over the internet, is that in the actual trailer itself, we see Ellie singing, of course, and then we see Joel walking through the house, and he asks Ellie, like, what are you doing, kiddo? Are you sure you want to be going down this path like that? And it's led many people to believe that Joel is actually dead. So basically the theory is that after the original Last of Us, sometime in between the first one and now the second one, Joel was killed, and that's why Ellie's on this revenge path. That's why she's going to kill all these people. And basically, when we see Joel in the trailer, people are thinking that he's a hallucination that Ellie is thinking of, so he might not actually be there. But to me, I feel like it might be too simple to be that. I just don't really see it happening, especially because Joel was such a big character in the first one. It wouldn't really make sense if he was just dead right from the start and just have him there as a hallucination. So personally, it is a cool theory nonetheless, but I just don't see it happening because it would be too predictable. So yeah, I don't really see that theory happening, but yeah, it does kind of make sense with the way Ellie says at the end that she's gonna find and kill every last one of them, possibly referring to the people that killed Joel maybe. But yeah, personally I don't see it, but it is something big that's going over the internet. So yeah, basically that's all the news that we got regarding The Last of Us 2 for now. I'm super excited for this game. As of right now, it has to be my #1 most anticipated game. So yeah, let me know everything down below in the comments about what you think about The Last of Us Part 2. And for now, I'd like to thank you a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.